Hi viewers, in this video I will show you how I connected and tested a used Honda OBD1 ECU. Then, how I checked the ECU output signals, and finally how I displayed the live data with my AUTEL MX808S scan tool.
Many years ago, I bought a used Honda del Sol to fix it and modify it. When the project was completed, I had some extra parts. Among them, a spare P28 ECU that I never had the opportunity to install and check. Finally, I decided to do it. First, I disconnected the negative battery cable. Then I disconnected the 3 harness plugs connected to the original P28 ECU located under the glove box near the door. To ease the procedure, I kept the original ECU in place, and I simply connected the second ECU beside it. After, I reconnected the battery. Starting the engine was the first test. It started easily, but I only let it run for about 10 seconds to keep it cold. While the ECU connectors were well positioned, I took some pictures of the wires to validate the colors of the wires against the pinout listing I made 10 years ago. This ECU pin D7 is used to transmit the live data. The pin D22 is a sensor ground that is also used to protect the data transmission. This is the OBD1 DLC connector that Honda utilized to transmit the data. I connected my homemade harness adapter to this connector. This is the schematic of this installation. It shows how the ECU signal is sent to the scan tool and also how the signal is sent to the DSO. The ignition key was turned to the on position to power the ECU. I only used my MD802 scan tool to activate the signal output from the ECU, so I could measure the baud rate with the oscilloscope. A scan tool can use multiple communication protocols to establish a communication with a PCM or an ECU. I began by selecting Scan, Asian, Honda, Canada, and then I entered the VIN number. I clicked on Yes, and I selected Control Unit, Engine PGM FI, and Live Data to display the custom list. When I was setting the parameters, I was able to see some square waves that indicated an interaction between the ECU and the scan tool. These square waves were the baud serial signals. I tried different time divisions to better define the number of bauds per second. I tried 5 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds, 1 millisecond, 500 microseconds, 200 microseconds, 100 microseconds, 50 microseconds, and 20 microseconds. The smallest time spacing I measured was 104 microseconds, so the rate per second was 9,600 bauds. Next, I properly turned off and disconnected the DSO and the scan tool. To perform the third test, I started the engine and I connected the MX808S scan tool to the P28 ECU cable adapter. Note, I checked in the AUTEL MX808 scan tool user manual and there was nothing written about the OBD1 interface. Normally, when this green icon lights up, it means that the communication is established with a PCM or an ECU. This is another schematic I made to show the connections. By selecting the Diagnosis button, the system displays a selection of many car makers. The upper menu can be used to find a car maker located in America, in Europe, or in Asia. I selected Honda, then System Selection. Once in the Select Destination page, I selected Canada. In the following application menus, I selected Del Sol. Then the year. Diagnosis. Control Unit. Engine PGM FI. and Live Data. The data parameters are by default displayed in text mode. 3 other display modes are also available: the analog dial gauge mode, the waveform graph mode, and the digital gauge mode. This is the list of 30 parameters that can be retrieved from the OBD1 P28 ECU. Note, the short-term and the long-term fuel trims are not part of the live data available with this ECU. To compare two parameters side by side on the same graph, first I selected the checkboxes, I combined them, then I selected graph mode. When the engine was idling, the two lines were parallel, but when I revved up the engine, the variations between the RPM and the angle of the throttle position sensor were easier to distinguish. After, I went back to the function menu. I checked the ECU information and other submenus. Then I exited the application and I powered off the scan tool.
The AUTEL MX808S bidirectional scan tool is very useful, but I am also pleased I can use it with my 1993 Honda del Sol.